Welcome to another installment of The Talking Head. I am your host, Gary Lamb, bringing relevant content on life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. And as promised, I'm bringing you my reaction on Joe Rogan's apology. And before I get into it, I want to say this. I am for Joe Rogan. I am in support of Joe Rogan. But this is a teaching moment that cannot be passed over. And I think that there's something that I can share to help a lot of you get out of this headspace of what you can and cannot say, because there's a lot of people that feel so passionately about this because there are certain things that they just cannot say. And this is important to you, especially if you're a white male, because you are the most censored creature on the planet. You can't say shit without getting in trouble. You just can't. And I want you guys to understand I'm with you on this. I get it. It is not fair that you can't say what's really on your mind. There are so many men out there that really wish they can just speak their mind, but if they do, they'll lose their job, they'll lose their career, they'll lose their podcasts, they'll lose their YouTube channel, their Twitch, whatever. They have to be so careful on what they say because they can be easily taken down. So it's a good thing that Joe is not as easily cancelable as most people, because we can actually utilize his mistakes to build off of them. But there are certain things that I do have a problem with, and I want to make sure I flush this out. So I just want to get that out there. I am in support of Joe Rogan, but this is a teaching moment, and a lot of people can learn from his blunders. So now that I said that, let's get to it.
Hello, friends. I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast, and it's all smushed together, and it looks fucking horrible, even to me. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word.
Now, we already discussed this on another video where I did, because Aries Spears, he had some words and he asked a very powerful question. I'm gonna put a link in the description to that video, and also right here in the notation, so you can go ahead and watch that video at the end of this video if you see fit. And I'm discussing this very report right here. So I'm going to pass this one. I'm just going to keep going. I just want to let you guys know that that's the reason why I'm passing this. I already spoke about it. So let's continue.
Never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years, but for a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing. Like that context was part of the clip we were talking about Red Fox, how Red Fox said that word on television in the 1970s, and how times have changed so much since then. Or about how Richard Pryor used it as one of the titles of one of his albums. Or I was quoting a Lenny Bruce bit, or I was quoting a Paul Mooney bit, or I was talking about how Quentin Tarantino used it repeatedly in Pulp Fiction. Or I was talking about how a Netflix executive, ironically, used it because he was trying to compare it to another offensive word, and he said it out loud, and they fired him.
Now, this is where I have a grievance. Why didn't you just use the phrase, the N-word, if you already knew that people were losing their jobs over the word itself? Why? What was the reason to just use the word? Now, I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you thought it was okay for you to use that word in context, and you should be, and especially back then, you should be. But you still used the word knowing that it was a risky thing to do. Why? I used to have a huge issue with white women. a huge issue. They can do and say whatever they wanted to you and get away with it. They can lie and get away with it. They can hit you and get away with it. They can do all kinds of stuff and just get away with it, and nobody will ever question them. Ever. They have destroyed more men off of a lie than any war out there. Real talk. That's how easy it is for a woman to just destroy your life with a lie. So I've always had a problem with women, especially white women, because their ability to destroy you just off their word. I came to really like Joe Rogan because of one moment in his stand-up. A white woman decided to, what is it called? I forget the word they call it, but she was interrupting the show. And he ripped her so bad. I mean, he ripped her. And it felt like healing to me. Finally, somebody says what I want to say, but can't. Because I'm in fear of losing my job. I'm in fear of what it would do to my reputation. I'm in fear of doing anything that can jeopardize my future. So I keep my mouth shut. No matter how much I want to say it, I keep my mouth shut. And I think that's what's going on here. White men have been censored so hard, that even watching a talking head like Joe Rogan saying it will be healing to their soul, because they can't say it and get away with it, but Joe can. Up until this point, he could. I'm not saying that everybody wants to say the N-word. I'm not saying that, but there are people out there that wish they could. And hearing Joe Rogan say it could possibly be healing to them. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just saying how it felt for me to hear what I really wanted to say to the women who lied on me and got me fired. What I really wanted to say come out of his mouth, it felt like healing. That's why I think you said it. Think. Let's continue.
Not calling anybody or just saying the word out loud. I was also talking about how there's not another word like it in the entire English language, because it's a word where only one group of people is allowed to use it, and they can use it in so many different ways. Like if a white person says that word, it's racist and toxic, but a black person can use it and it could be a punchline. It could be a term of endearment. It could be lyrics to a rap song. It could be a positive affirmation. It's a very unusual word, but it's not my word to use. I'm well aware of that now, but for years I used it in that manner. I never used it to be racist because I'm not racist, but whenever you're in a situation where you have to say, I'm not racist, you fucked up. And I clearly have fucked up.
Now that part right there is wisdom to live by. Whenever you say something, you have to clean it up by saying anything like that. You know what I'm saying? When you say, I'm not sexist, yeah, you shouldn't really say it. Not saying that you can't say it. You know what I'm saying? It's just you might want to be mindful of saying it, because for you to say that, it means you heard it come out your mouth and it didn't run right. And you can see how the other person may interpret it, you know? So I'm telling you right now, be mindful of what you're saying, because people are sensitive. You don't know that person's growth. That person may not be able to handle that. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So I'm with you on that one. I agree. But I still don't think it's fair that y'all can't say the word. I understand why you can't, but I don't think it's fair. And losing your career over it, come on, that's just insane. If I don't like you using a word and you use it a lot, I'll just stop listening to you. It is what it is. Continue.
And that's my intention to express myself in this video, to say there's nothing I can do to take that back. I wish I could. Obviously, that's not possible. I do hope that, if anything, that this can be a teachable moment. Because I never thought it would ever be taken out of context and put in a video like that. And now that it is, holy shit, it looks bad. And it's part of also me doing this podcast for thousands of hours, thousands of episodes, over 12 years. I said a lot of fucking stupid shit.
This is why I don't like doing lives. This right here. Because if you see the amount of takes I do to do a video properly, because I say things, test it, see how it rolls off, and then I edit it out if I think it's bad or it might offend somebody. Because when I'm just talking off the cuff, and a lot of people want to hear me talk off the cuff, I understand that. There's a lot of stupid shit that comes out of my mouth because I'm working it out as I go. Like, I'm not this I don't know everything. Right. And I know I don't know everything, but while I'm working stuff out, and I think that's what makes, you ever been in math class and they say, show your work? Well, being shown the work is great because you come to epiphanies and you have, oh my God, that's why it did. Like, I had one of those when I was talking to my wife this morning. I had one of those epiphany moments. I'm like, God, I got to talk about this. So it's good to catch that in real time. People love that. That's why this is called a reaction video, right? They love to see that. They love to see those epiphanies, those moments, especially when there's things that is being said that they thought or they didn't think, but they agree with. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But then you have, when you say it live, it's recorded and they can take it out of context real quick because you're working the thought process out. This is why I say content creators need to be free to create and try stuff, because who knows what he says might be the stepping block you need to get to your other level. Who knows? Who knows? But to be censored like that and not be able to have free thought is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, that's why I don't like going live all the time, because I don't want to say anything stupid. I hate sounding stupid. It sucks, especially when you want the best for the people that's listening to you. I'm not just saying this stuff because, hey, I just want to get views. No, I really think this might help somebody. I really do. I really think this is going to help somebody because this is how I see it. I see it this way, and some people may not see it this way, but see it this way after hearing what I say. I'm like, you know what? That's a different perspective. I never thought about it like that. I never looked at it that way. You know what? He's got a point. You know what? I'm going to let that ride too. Let's continue.
Which is fine when you're talking about most things, but not when you're talking about race. And there's another clip that I have to address. There's a clip from 11 years ago. I was telling a story on the podcast about how me and my friend Tommy and his girlfriend, we got really high. We were in Philadelphia and we went to go see Planet of the Apes.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there. And I'm going to play the clip he's talking about.
Planet of the Apes, man. We're going to go see Planet of the Apes. So I look on the iPhone app and it says, okay, take me to this one. And the guy goes, okay. I go, is that in a good neighborhood? He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out, and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to go see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door, and there was no white people. Planet of the Apes didn't take place in Africa. That was a racist thing for me to say.
We just got dropped off by a cab, and we got dropped off in this all-black neighborhood. And I was trying to make the story entertaining. And I said, we got out and it was like we were in Africa. It's like we were in Planet of the Apes. I did not, nor would I ever say that black people are apes, but it sure fucking sounded like that. And I immediately afterwards said, that's a racist thing to say. Planet of the Apes wasn't even in Africa. I was just saying, there's a lot of black people there. But then I went on to talk about what a positive experience it was and how much fun it was to go to see this movie in a black neighborhood. It wasn't a racist story, but it sounded terrible. And like I said, you can have clunky stories about anything, but not about race. And so I deleted that whole podcast, but obviously somebody made a clip out of it and taken out of context, it looks terrible, but it looks terrible even in context. It's a fucking idiotic thing to say, and I was just trying to be entertaining. I certainly wasn't trying to be racist, and I certainly would never want to offend someone for entertainment with something as stupid as racism.
I have to ask you a question. Have you ever been in an environment where there was no white people around? As a white person, have you ever been in that environment? You see, it's easy for blacks to get offended by what he said. But we've always been surrounded by white people. We work for them. We walk their dogs. We cook for them. We clean for them. We drive them to their homes. We drive them to work. We deliver stuff for them. We've always worked amongst whites. How many white people actually get the privilege to work among only blacks? To live in an only black neighborhood, to be surrounded by blacks all the time. How many white people actually get that privilege? Not many. And Joe is one of those not many. This is why you have to put stuff in context. Because yes, it does look bad to a black person. But if you were a black person who's never been around white people, and then all of a sudden you're around nothing. But if you take an African person who live in Africa, who's only been around black people, and bring them to America, it'd be a culture shock for them. They would not know how to handle it because they're not used to seeing so many white people. Joe didn't know how to handle that amount of blacks in one environment. That doesn't make him racist. It's a shock to his eye sockets. He's not used to seeing so many black with no whites. It can easily be an uncomfortable experience if you're not prepared for it. If you know you're flying to Africa, you know that you're not going to see many white people. That's just what it is. You'll see a whole lot at the resorts and stuff, but when you go into towns, you're going to see mostly what? Africans. You go to Brazil, you're going to see mostly Brazilians. You go to any other country, you're going to see more of the dominant race in that country. When you're the dominant race in your country and go to a town or an environment where there's not many of you, you're going to have a similar reaction. You're going to say, wow, there's a lot of black people. That doesn't make you racist. It's a shock because you're not used to seeing so many at one time. Now, the whole Planet of the Apes comment, that was just a dumb joke. It wasn't really funny. I mean, it wasn't. It's just a joke that didn't land. He was going to see the movie. He's like, oh, and then, he tried to make something sound funny. It is what it is. Let me tell you this. You know how I got somewhat hilarious or humorous? By trying my stuff on people. I'm really an introvert. I really am. I'm very uncomfortable with people's opinions because I don't know what I really am. But I'm also very curious, extremely curious on what people think. Isn't that weird? I'm afraid of your opinion, but yet I want to know what you're thinking. It's weird, right? So it's just what it is. Okay. I tried how I developed my character by trying stuff and seeing how it landed on people. Just the other day, I said something to my brother's girlfriend, and I wanted to see how it landed on her. She didn't even respond. She hated it so much. She just walked out the room. I then cleaned it up, tried it again, and she said, oh, that I like. And then I came forward with a video that you guys would appreciate. It can happen to me too. It is what it is. He was just trying some new material. It didn't work. He realized it was bad and he didn't do it again. He learned his lesson then. He doesn't have to learn a lesson again. Life is tough, especially when you're dealing with race, because a lot of people take that to heart. I get treated certain ways because I'm black. There's no doubt about that. I cannot escape it. I can't get around it. I can't explain it. It's just what it is. I get treated a certain way because I'm black. I have to break through barriers that I wish I never had to break through, but I got to break through them because I'm black. The stigma on my skin color is there. And it's never going to go away because that's the first thing they see. It's my skin color. Life is hard enough dealing with that. Do we really have to make it harder by this? This should be my last video that I make on Joe Rogan because there's other things that I want to talk about, the other topics that I want to get into. But this was a special one for me because I'm seeing a man that I respect struggle because of something he said years ago. Let's start the dialogue. Let's continue this work. This is Gary Lamb signing off. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see those other videos that I did with Joe Rogan, I'm going to put one here and one here. Support the channel in the best way you can. This is Gary Lamb signing off. You guys have a good one.